Good morning and welcome everyone. I will give a couple of minutes for people to log in, but in the meantime, welcome to our Explore IFS Assyst webinar with InfoConsulting and our IFS expert, Jason Turner. I'll start by introducing myself. For those of you that haven't met me, my name is Marina. I'm your Customer Success Account Manager here at InfoConsulting, and I will be your host for today's session. While people log in and have time to get comfortable, I'll take you through our agenda today, starting with a little bit of housekeeping to ensure everything runs smoothly. If all of our attendees can make sure to have your cameras off and be on mute. If you do have any questions or any comments throughout the session, please feel free and please use the chat option. If you feel more comfortable, you can reach out to myself directly using the contact information on your screen as well. I will start us off by talking a little bit about InfoConsulting, who we are and what we're all about. I will then be handing over to Jason to take us through everything Assyst, and he will also answer your questions during a brief Q&A session at the end of his presentation. Before we wrap up, I'll take you through our Support Plus program for a couple of minutes and talk through how some of our customers are already leveraging it to drive business value from their IFS solutions. Okay, we can start, and I think now there's been enough time for everybody to settle in. So we'll start talking about InfoConsulting Australia and New Zealand. We are a part of the InfoConsulting Group. We are a global company that operates from 11 different countries and its head office in Poland. But we also pride ourselves in having a local focus. In Australia, our growing team has a presence in Perth, Adelaide, Brisbane, Melbourne, and Sydney. We have over 25 years of experience working as trusted advisors to our clients, delivering exceptional IT services and solutions and real long-term business value. Currently, we have about 500 customers globally and over 350 employees. Our industry expertise lies in mining, construction, engineering, and manufacturing, and we are a leading strategic partner of IFS. We're also very proud to be the only IFS Platinum Channel partner in Australia, 1 out of 5 globally. Now, I'll introduce you to our wonderful speaker for today, Jason Turner. He is our principal consultant for IFS Assyst. He's got over 12 years of experience working with the application and brings deep expertise in ITSM and ESM implementation and strategy. Jason began his journey with Axios Systems, who are the original creators of the application, where he served as managing consultant. Now I'll hand it over to Jason. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on IFS Assyst 24R2. So my 4 points, my 4 topics of discussion will be an overview of IFS Assyst for all those on the call that aren't familiar with the application. Then we'll dive into what's new in 24R2. I'll give a brief discussion on some new admin features for all the admins that are on the call as well. And then we will just go through some upgrade considerations when the time comes to upgrade to 24R2. So a quick overview of Assyst. So Assyst is a enterprise service management and ITSM application. It helps organizations manage and automate service delivery across IT and non-IT departments. It covers all the modules you would expect: incident, problem, change, request, knowledge, CMDB. It also has a self-service portal which contains a service catalog. And it also has a easy-to-use workflow and form designer, as well as coming with dashboards and reports, which obviously get updated with each release. And they're moving to a low-code platform. So that's becoming more noticeable now with the 24R2 and what they're doing, depreciating the old legacy applications. And we'll dive into that today because that's a fair chunk of what this new release is all about. Okay, so now I'm going to dive into the tool and we will start to look at and go through what's new in 24R2. So first up, before I show you some of the stuff in here, is about the version numbering. So IFS now have moved to Assyst 24R2 for this release that we're looking at. Previously, we had like 11.5, 11.8, and so on. So from this release onwards, Assyst will be adopting the IFS release numbering system. So basically, the release is named after the year and then its release point. So as this was the second IFS release point in 24, it's obviously named 24R2. There should be a 24R1, 25R2, and so on as they release new versions. All right, let's have a look. So once again, a lot of this stuff is exactly the same as previously been. I'm just going to step through some of the newer stuff that we're looking at in 24R2, and we'll just start with the new UI event monitor. So what they've been able to do in this release, now once again, everyone will be used to seeing what we've got here, and I've got an event monitor called Open Incidents. So we're all used to this view here, showing us our ticket queue, showing the details down the bottom half. We've got our info zone on the right still. So that's still there, still actions, and behaves exactly like it was in previous versions. But what we do have in this is this option here to use the new event monitor. So by clicking that, we are taken to a new window, which is the new UI event monitor. Now, I'll step through what this all does and where everything lives inside of here shortly. But basically, what's happening is they're slowly changing the UI across the whole application. So this is just the first step in that journey. And this is also to, I guess, to let people get used to it if they want to use it, to start to test it out and see how it's going to operate across the wider system. So once again, all the details that are still within this event window are obviously handled in the new UI. So we'll just step through what we're looking at here. We've got the drop down in the top left is all the event monitors I've got. So once again, I can search. Maybe I want to see changes. So I can do a search in the top left. That is going to bring back the event monitors that I could select to look at tickets. See this long list here? This is currently how it's presented in the main Assyst web portal. Also up here, that's that list there where I can flick between the different event monitors. So once again, up in the top left of the new GUI, and I can do a search for those event monitors. You'll notice the main window here is obviously the different tickets. I can click through those tickets and you can see on the right-hand side of the menu over here, the details are updating. So basically what they've done is they've taken the details that are down the bottom and the info zone and packed them all into this new menu on the right-hand side. So you can see the overview, which carries the guidance, similar events, item A, item B details. The details tab obviously returns all the details of the ticket, including custom field data. So there's that. History, well, I can see there's three actions, three history actions against this ticket. There's new icons to show if the action is public or private. So obviously it doesn't show if it's private, therefore the end user can't view that action in the portal. I can edit those actions. I can expand to see the detail of the actions as well. Also, I've got an option to export the action history from this window. And the other tabs here are the exact same tabs that we have in the event monitor currently. So I can see if there's additional users, who they are, what their details are, additional items, and so on. I can hide this menu if I don't want to see that and want to see more of the tickets. Or obviously I can expand this menu if I have more details that I want to see. So that is, there's a couple extra features here. I can obviously change the column profile, so I can add and remove columns. So pretty much the same feature set that we were doing under the event monitor, it's just in the new GUI. So I can add and rearrange columns. So for example, if I want the affected user to now appear before, and maybe I want the category, I can move those things around, and obviously they apply to this main window. Lastly, I just want to show you that the three dots here is the actions. So I can then also search for an action. So maybe it's, I don't know if I've got internal note. So assign internal, for example, I can search for, there it is, rather than clicking through all the menus. If you've got a lot of actions, for example, you may just want to search for a particular action. And once again, it's just presented differently in a menu. Now, once again, I've been using this for a couple of months now, just playing around with it, and I really like this menu option as well. Now, also, because I know a lot of you guys, your current versions are previous to 11.8. One thing also on actions, just while I'm looking, is that we can actually limit the actions per event type now from 11.8. So that's something to keep in mind as well. If you move from 11.5, 0.6 or 0.7 straight up to this one, you can now limit this action list. Instead of having all the actions that cover everything, we can now go, well, it's an incident ticket. Let's just have incident tickets related actions. And it's a task ticket. Let's limit those task ticket actions. So it will give you some more flexibility now on how we could structure those actions for particular event types. I will just show you how it looks taking an action. What action should I take here? Technical notes. So it just brings it up over the top. Once again, all there's no extra details that you need to enter based on what's currently set in your system. So for example, if you have service time as mandatory, it'll still obviously be mandatory. Description, that you can enter details in here as much as you like, and away you go. And saving that. Well, once again, it gives you the prompts to say things have been successful, and it should then appear under, what ticket did I take that on? It'll then show you the details in your history. So yeah, it's looking a lot better, I think, moving to the new UI, and this is just the start. So they're going to start to push this out across the rest of the system with future releases. So once again, everything that you've currently got will be here within this window. So one thing to keep in mind, we can't set this as a default for users right now in this release. So you do have to come in and click that button if you do want to be using that that new UI. Okay, so that's the new UI for Event Monitor. The next up in what's new is we have the auto close rule. So for those that haven't read any release notes on this release, what's happening with what IFS are doing is they are slowly depreciating all the old legacy applications. So that is the action processor, smart mail, all the old utilities. So basically anything running on the integration servers is slowly being depreciated, and they're moving that stuff either back into the application or it's going to be run via our ETM application. So this release is sort of the first step in bringing in some of that stuff into the tool. So the auto closure rule, everyone uses auto closure currently that I've worked with, and basically it's a separate utility with a fair bit of code on the back end that if you said to me, we want to update that to change it from say 7 days to 5 days, we have to go into the code, find the code set, change it, restart it, and away we go. Whereas now what we're going to be able to do is just administer that from within the tool. So what they've done is they've brought it into the tool. I can now come in here as admin. Once again, this is all privilege based on who gets access to this, but I could say, right, for incidents, I want to just auto close that after 5 business days. I can inherit the data from the resolution. So if your resolve action has remarks, cause item and cause category, I can just select that button and it will pick that up, or I could go and set that. So auto closure from, auto closure after 5 business days. I could set a default cause item and cause category if needed. And the service department is that I could determine that this is only valid for certain service departments. So we could say only if service desk have resolved it, put this auto closure rule in place, and so on. But if you leave it blank, it applies for all. And that's it. That's as simple as it is to create an auto closure rule. As you saw there, I could create auto closure rules for every event type now as well. And that's it. So what's happening on the back end is when you upgrade, if you're SaaS, they will install, I think they're calling it an auto closure scheduler, which basically will now run that automation based on the settings that we find in here. If you're an on-prem client, we just need to install that when we do the upgrade ourselves. So it's just an extra step in the upgrade, which is all a part of the installer. So it's all bundled. You just select a tick box and away you go. So that is the auto closure rule. I'll get to a couple of the other stuff that's being brought into the tool when we get to the administration features. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip back to the slides to show you some of the AI stuff. So AI is obviously the new buzz thing across all applications and all vendors. And what IFS are starting to do is put some AI capabilities into Assyst, which is good. So in this release, what we've currently got is we've got a couple of AI capabilities and features. The first one is event summarization. So what this is on the event monitors, we can right click, there'll be an option called show event summary. And then when you click that, the AI feature is going to go and analyze the ticket, analyze the actions, the details, the statuses, where it's all at. And it's just going to present it in a pop-up box window that you can see there on the right, summarizing the ticket so that, for example, if you have a ticket that has 100 actions, you want to see where it's been assigned to very quickly. You can run this event summarization and it will present in a easy to read sort of box that you can copy out or you can export and do those things with it. So that's one part of the AI in 24R2. The second is suggested assignments. So some of you we may be doing this with back-end code already, where we sort of basically take a ticket, we pass the details of a ticket through some script and code on the back end, and then we're basically working out who that ticket should be assigned to automatically. What we can now do in 24R2 is we don't need to do all that back-end code stuff. What this is doing is we just can feed it some keywords against service departments. And then the AI is taking those keywords, working out what's in the ticket, and then suggesting who this assignment group who the ticket should be assigned to. So there is still some of that manual feeding of information into in this version in terms of the keywords. I do know, and I'll get to the slide next about AI going and working through past tickets to come up with that sort of stuff by itself. But in this release, it's still based on some of the details that we're feeding it. So that is the suggested assignments. And unfortunately, I can't show you all of this working in my demo system because one of the extra parts of this release is that there will be an AI server. The AI server will be the in-between your AI setup and service in Azure and Assyst. So that will be the go-to, the in-between to make all of this work. One extra thing on AI that you will need is obviously an Azure subscription to enable the AI capabilities in this new version. So a couple of extra things. Copilot within the portal. I can actually show you shortly where that's going to live inside the portal. It's actually not active, but I can at least show you where it will sit. The Copilot is the relabeling of Assyst. What was it called before? It's called Assyst Virtual Agent. So the Assyst Virtual Agent feature is now rebranded IFS Assyst Copilot. in earlier releases, it's just been improved upon, bug fixes and those sort of things. You can have it in Assyst Web, or obviously now inside of embedded in your AssistNet portal. I will show you how that looks. The final screenshot on the right is basically Copilot embedded into MS Teams. So once again, you can have a tab inside Teams or a chat window where you could sort of write prompts to the agent to say, hey, I want to log a ticket, or what's a status update on a ticket number, and the Copilot agent will go and get those details, respond to you, give you options to take, and so forth. So that's the agent. That's just a screenshot of the agent within the portal. One more thing about MS Teams is in this release as well, we have where you can embed your service catalog. I don't have a screenshot of that, unfortunately, but you can now have a tab window within your Teams where users can click in, they get presented with the self-service portal, they can log a ticket, fill in a form, all via MS Teams. So next up, I just want to step through a few things around what's coming in AI, because obviously everyone's excited about AI and what it can potentially do. And this is, I guess, some of the next things to come within the application. So I've spoken to IFS and the devs around what's coming. They've given me this list here of some of the things that they're looking at. And once again, I don't know how this is going to look in the tool or when it's going to be released, but this sort of stuff is the stuff they're thinking about and that they're looking to get into the application. So you can just see there some of the things that are coming down the line, like, for example, understanding the requests, going through knowledge articles and returning detail at the point of logging, which I think will be very useful. There'll also be conversational chat back and forth potentially with the AI. So yeah, a few things there that are coming down the line that I think will bolster the AI feature set within Assyst. Okay, so let's just flip back into the tool. So what I just quickly wanted to show you there was so this is the portal for all those that haven't seen Assyst. This is the front end portal of Assyst where your end users would go to make requests and see their ticket status updates. And you can see here on the right hand side, this window here is where your Copilot will be embedded into your portal. So you've got this little icon at the top where you can hide that window if you want, or obviously display it. And then you can begin your chat here. Once again, this isn't running, so this is just going to be an empty text, but that's technically where you will go to chat to your Copilot. One extra thing on the Copilot is you can hook it into ChatGPT as well, so that you can get a broader sense, I guess, of detail and information coming back from ChatGPT. Once again, I haven't used that side of it yet, so in terms of the finer detail around what you can control and can't, I'm not too sure. And if people have questions about that later, we can definitely find out more about the feature set with ChatGPT. Okay, so now I want to showcase some of the admin features. And as I mentioned, they're moving away from the old legacy stuff. There's too many pieces, too much stuff to, I guess, administer, and too many points of failure as well, I guess. So they're bringing stuff back into the tool to make it easier to admin as well. And one of the key ones and the big ones is the notifier. So you'll notice that there's a new menu option in the menu called notifier. And once again, that's privilege driven, privilege based on who can access and control this. And basically, this is the new features and functionality that manages your outbound email notifications. So basically, this is taking over your old action processor, SmartMail, and also this notifier can trigger things within ETM, and that technically is going to take over your custom built utility. So for example, your auto close decision utility, and all the extra pieces that we've built over the years as utilities will slowly be seeping back into the tool. So the notifier, what we've got here is we have the notifier template. I'll start with that one. And basically, this is where you will create your dynamic HTML. So basically, this is the details of what will go out in your email. So for so long, we've had to deal with HTML files on the integration server. This is once again, I'll say this a lot today because this is what's happening. It's bringing it into the tool where we can control it within here. I don't think I've got any templates to really show you. I've just got a default one. So once again, this is just picking up some text, but what we can do inside of here, excuse me, is we can dynamically HTML create your templates. So what gets sent out when we assign a ticket, what gets sent out when you resolve a ticket, what gets sent out if an SLA is breached. So all of those emails that trigger out, we can now have within this application. So that also means if a signature changes, you can just update the signature within the tool. We don't have to go sifting through 20, 30 HTML files on the back end to try and find the right HTML code to update a signature, and that's been an issue that no doubt a lot of you have had over the years. So that's template, where we set up those templates. Rule, this is where we define a rule or a condition that gets fulfilled. So this is typically where your AP rules would reside. So we would choose an entity and we would have a rule. So I've got two here that I can show you: assign and resolve. So basically on assignment, so the rule is going to be on assignment, we're going to take an action, and then that action ties back into the notifier, which I'll show you next. Now, one thing that all these rules that we've got, what we're working on, what I'm working on, is to get a default set of the 80% of what most clients use, so that we can just get them in when you get to the point of upgrade. So we're working on that as well. But also what you can do here is, if you've got an action, I might just open this in a new tab. What they've done is, from actions, you can create these rules automatically almost, if this loads. So basically, if we said, we want to trigger a rule for supplier assign. So when someone takes a supplier assign, I want to send an email. So this send email tick box, now what we do is that will, or should, it auto creates the rule here. So if I want to set up the rules, I just need to now make sure that that action has that ticked, and it will auto appear in that list. I might obviously want to add additional rules around this. So if it's supplier assign and the SLA hasn't breached, then this is the rule that I want. So you can add to the rules rather than just have it solely on that action. But once again, if you do want those actions added, you can go to your action list, tick the box, and it will appear automatically. And then lastly, to tie it all together, we have the notifier. So this notifier is almost what SmartMail was doing. So if you remember in SmartMail, if you remember in AP, we trigger SmartMail logic file, and that logic file would have the subject, would have who it's going to, and potentially might have other rules to fine tune. So basically what we're doing is we're picking up a rule. You can have multiple rules if you want. It's picking up subject, who it's going to, where it's coming from, and so on. So we're taking the action processor SmartMail configuration, and we're just getting into the 3 steps here of notifier, template, and the rule. Also, there'll be a new log file. That new log file is within the application itself. Uh, server logs. So under here, you should have a new notify log. So you can go in there if there's anything going wrong, or it's not triggering, or if it's failing. When you're in test, for example, you can look at the notify log and see it from the server itself. So that is the new notifier coming in. So once again, for admins, I think it's great. You're going to be able to control all of that from within Assyst. Excuse me. So take note though that this new feature is basically depreciating AP Smart Mail features and functions with this release. When we get to the upgrade considerations, I will just chat about what to consider when upgrading around these things. But basically, it will depreciate those legacy applications once you go to this version. Okay. Another new admin feature is around the form designer. Now, form designer is still the old applet, and what the new features are of this release is just some of the functionality. So they have finally given us an update to visibility expressions. So what we can now do is we can do a not equal to, we can do an and an or in visibility expressions. So for the admins out there that build forms, this is a huge update, and I'll explain a bit why that is the case. So basically, what we used to have to do is with an and an or, is with a visibility, we could only ever have an equal to. So we could only ever have that first half of the expression. So what this is allowing us to now do is we can chuck in the or in the one field. So if you have a lookup that has 5 options and you wanted the same field to show if 2 of those options or 3 of those options of the 5 were selected, we used to have to build out 3 additional fields for each equal to. So if it equals the first one, there's a new field. If it equals the second one, there's a new field, and so on. What we can now do with the or is obviously we chuck it in the one expression and we have the one field. So we can clean up all the old forms and fields that we've built based on those lookups. So I know a few client sites, there's been ones where we've had to build out 20 or 30 options because there's 20 or 30 options in the lookup before. So how that looks in the net portal is, if I'm just going to go to the form that I've got. So once again, this release, the catalog itself is exactly the same as you've currently got. Obviously, this my environment here, I've just got different icons and presented maybe a bit different than you guys are used to. But in terms of how that all works, it's exactly the same. So you can see here on this fairly generic form, I've got my lookup, and now I've got the 2 options where the and the or is obviously still showing based on that selection. So from the front end, it's going to appear and look the same as what we currently do. It's just at the back end, and from a form management perspective, it's so much cleaner and nicer to have that and an or, and we only need the one form to potentially handle 6 or so different options in your lookups. So I think that's really good from someone that builds a lot of forms. I think that's excellent. The last thing we've got in terms of the form is we now have a field event type called attachment. So what that does is if we set attachment, you can see I've added one here called please add your approval. And in the portal, it adds this attachment box. Excuse me. So what that does now is I've set that as mandatory. So to submit this, it should error because I haven't attached the attachment that I've set as mandatory. So where this default attachment one on the bottom is, we can hide that now if we want to, so it doesn't show, and your mandatory ones do show. Or you can obviously still leave it to have non-mandatory in this bottom one. Where this will be a benefit is in teams and forms that you want someone to have to actually attach something before they submit. Previously, we couldn't do any check. We would just be relying on them potentially we would put a tick box to say, oh yeah, I've attached what I needed to before submitting, but now we can actually enforce it. So I do know that I've worked with some HR teams, payroll teams, those sort of other non-IT teams and their forms. They have a lot of forms that need attachments, and we can now update those forms and enforce those attachments coming through when you're submitting. So that's another additional feature that they've added to the form designer. Okay, so let's just go back to the slides. So that's it from a new admin perspective. There's just a couple of things. Obviously, there's bug fixes that there are with all new releases. I'm not going to go into all the bug fixes. If you guys want or haven't seen the release notes, we can share them after this call. That does speak about bug fixes more in depth. Now I just want to touch on what the upgrade consideration should be when you guys come to upgrade. So the first consideration when upgrading is based on your mailbox reader. This needs to already be, this is already depreciated with this version. So you need to have your mailbox reader moved into ETM. I know that probably half the clients here in Australia have already moved into ETM, but there are a few that are still on the old mailbox reader. So you will have to do that before moving. So that's step one. Now the thoughts around action processor, smart mail, your auto close, any of your other utilities, basically you can upgrade to this version without changing those. So your old legacy applications still work with this release, but keep in mind that Assyst IFS deem it as depreciated, and moving forward, they definitely will be being depreciated with future releases. So what I would be suggesting to you guys about upgrading would be make sure your mailbox reader is in ETM well before the upgrade, obviously, because you should treat that as a separate project. Then it would be, well, let's plan to upgrade, and then let's look at the AP, smart mail, and auto closure stuff once you've upgraded and tested the new release with all your other stuff. Because then once you've done that, then you're fully off those old legacy applications, and moving forward, you'll be okay. The last one there is about AI. So what would you need to consider to start using those AI applications and features with the new release? So the AI stuff I'm just getting into, so I don't have a lot of detail about every prerequisite that you do need. Once again, I do know you need the Azure subscription model to have a chance to make those features work. So yeah, they're the 4 or 5 big things that you potentially need to consider about upgrading. Okay, that brings us to an end for what I was showing today. I know that was a quick showcase of the new features, but once again, if you're interested in diving deeper into any of those topics, we can set up meetings post this individually and go through all of that. Now we have some Q&A. If anyone's got any questions, ping them through the chat, or take off audio and ask us questions, and we'll try and answer those as best we can.
We've got a few questions, Jason. If you don't mind, I can read the ones that we have so far out for you. Amazing.
Go for it.
Okay, I'll start. The first one is, oh, sorry, I might just turn my camera on as well. Just give me 1 second. There you go. Okay. All right, so the first one is, when will the new user interface be across the whole application, across all screens?
Yeah, so once again, I'm sort of a little on the outer with the IFS devs now, but from the roadmaps I've seen, from the discussions I've had with people directly within IFS, other consultants and so forth, it'll be a slow release now across the next few releases. So I can't give an actual sort of by 26R1 it'll all be done. But they are actively, it's like a #1 sort of updates in each new release coming. So I expect to see more in 25R1. I'd expect to see even more in 25R2. So by the end of this year, I'd probably have a clear idea of where they're at with what they've done and where they're headed. But that it's definitely coming. So I wouldn't expect it to be like 3 or 4 years down the road. I'm thinking in the next year and a half, it should be across the whole application. But once again, I don't have an exact release date where it's all done, but it is coming.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. We have another one asking, is there an integration between IFS Cloud and IFS Assyst?
Short answer is yes. For all those on the call that are IFS Cloud customers, there is a pre-built bi-directional IFS Cloud bridge to Assyst. I don't know the full ins and outs of the IFS Cloud application, but I do know that basically events or actions triggered on work orders in IFS Cloud SM, there'll be status updates are reflected back in Assyst. And if there's updates on the Assyst side of those tickets, they'll be reflected back inside the IFS Cloud application. So yeah, the short answer there is yes, that there is a integration between the two. I do know the grand plan is that eventually the two applications will be one. That's their grand plan.
Amazing. Thank you for that. And we have one more. On the Power BI reports and dashboards, can they be created in Power BI and exported into Assyst?
Yeah, okay, I didn't show any of the reporting or dashboards because of the timing that we had, but basically what they've done is they are creating some Power BI reports and dashboards that get shipped with the latest releases. Now, one thing to keep in mind with these that I've discovered this week actually is that the client still needs to have a Power BI instance/server that they are accessing, whether that be in the cloud or on-prem. And then basically what we do with those shipped Power BI reports and dashboards is we point them to that instance so that they can run them based off their instance. So it's not a dedicated native Power BI embedded reporting server in Assyst. We have our separate embedded reporting server that runs a whole heap of reports and dashboards that come with every release. But just around the Power BI ones, you still need to have your own instance of Power BI that we just hook into with those reports. So to answer the question, I think it said about creating actual reports in Power BI and getting them into Assyst. I'm sure there's a way because that's what they're currently doing with those pre-shipped ones. But what we'll need to do with those Power BI reports is just make them fit the template that Assyst reads from its report generator. But yeah, it does connect back into the client's Power BI.
Amazing. Thank you, Jason. Those were the questions that I had so far. For everyone on the session, if you do have any further questions or comments that come up after, please feel free to reach out to myself or to Jason. We'll be happy to come back to you with answers after the session as well. If you don't mind, Jason, I think I might finalize the Q&A session as we are getting close to the end of the session.
Yep.
And I'll take over to talk to everyone a little bit about Support Plus. Thank you so much, Jason. That was brilliant and very informative. We really appreciate it. What a great session. Okay. Now, before we wrap up, as I mentioned, I wanted to take a couple of minutes to talk about Support Plus, which is our tailored program that support our customers once their go live hypercare period is completed. just to give you an overview on what the program is, over the years, we identified a really strong need from our customers for ongoing application support once their project go live is completed. We also recognized that we had to create a business-driven support service approach that aligns technical expertise with our customer strategic goals. We really understand that efficient support is not just about resolving your issues, it's about enabling your business to operate seamlessly and to help maximize your system's performance. Now, Support Plus is tailored to meet each of our customers' specific requirements and needs from a selection of services that we have created and that we have proved with the years of experience with our customers. Depending on what your solution is and what your needs are, we would organize a package to suit those. The engagement model is designed to work essentially as an extension of your team, that providing you with the responsiveness, the expertise, and the strategic guidance that you need to have long-term success with your solution. If you are interested in talking about Support Plus for your business and understanding what that will look like based on your specific requirements, please feel free to reach out to myself and we'll organize a session to start discussions. Now, that will be it. And that concludes our session for today. We really appreciate you all joining us. Thank you so much. If you do have following questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to myself and we'll hope to see you soon. Thank you all.